and the movie is now one of the most loved of all time, and Taylorian Productions have brought the stage version right here to the Isle of Man, rain and all.
Oh, I know, and I hear there's a splash zone, so if you sat on the front few rows,
yeah, maybe bring a Macintosh.
Yeah. And today we're not going to show you the set design. It's spectacular, we can say.
Oh, we're so lucky to see it.
Yeah, we want you to be wowed when you first walk into this theatre to see the show, so we won't show any spoilers today.
Exactly, but you can see us chatting with the cast and crew. Ben is doing a marvellous job of making sure the camera is only pointing at places we're allowed to show you at the moment. Just before we move and talk to various pods, we've discovered someone that we know rather well sitting in the seats here.
Hi, I'm back.
Aaron from Work Experience from just the other week. We've missed you, Aaron. Tell us what have you been doing in Singing in the Rain then? What's your involvement?
Well, I'm in featured ensemble, so I've been doing some dancing, doing some acting, doing all sorts, a bit of singing as well, just everything. I've been doing all three really for the past so many weeks in prep for obviously starting next Monday.
And it is a lot of prep, as Sarah herself knows as well. She's done this as well before, and yeah, it's just lovely to bump into you and have you back on the radio again.
Yeah, I know, I've missed you guys, the late lunch team, and everyone at Max Radio.
It's like we're all back together. I'm delighted to have you with us.
Little reunion, yeah.
Exactly.
Lead the way, Aaron.
I love how he's branded as well. He's got his Singing in the Rain sweater on and Taylorian sweater on, of course, with the dates on the back. From the 5th of August, you can see this production. We're going to talk to the director in just a moment, but I've spotted as well Emma Callan. Hello, Emma. It's lovely to see you in your home, I suppose, really, of the Gaiety Theatre. I mentioned rain. There's something a bit special happening here. We're going to find out much more about it over the course of the next hour, but there will be rather a lot of water in this beautiful Gaiety Theatre. You know, that's kind of a big thing.
Yeah, it's a really big thing, and when we watched it yesterday, there was like a hushed calm throughout the theatre as we all stood to watch. But you know, it's amazing, and there's a lot of rain. It's not just a little shower, it's a downpour of rain, but it's amazing.
And obviously, from the point of view of managing this entire complex, that's sort of on the stage as well. Not involved
on stage, I'm assistant director, but not performing.
So tell us what your role involves and how it's been going so far.
Oh, well, as you might expect, an assistant director does anything the director needs them to. But when he's not here, when Chris hasn't been on island, then I run the rehearsals. So I take copious amounts of notes and make sure that we all know who's where and when and what has to happen. Now we're in the theatre, there's a lot of working out how long it's going to take, because there's a lot of in and out of the auditorium and people are changing costumes at the same time, so now we're going to have to start timing it properly, and as people will see when they come, we've got a brand new flight of stairs in the auditorium that are quite steep for anyone like me with short legs, and so there's going to be some adapting to that. So I'm basically here, I hesitate to say dog's body, but I'm here to help whoever needs help.
Well, it's clearly going to be something a bit magical. You mentioned the steps. I've spotted someone who we just alluded to sitting on the steps, looking very comfortable.
Does indeed, doesn't he? Quite settled in, quite at home.
Yes, I mean, considering it's not long now until the actual production. Right, we're now live on radio going to climb the steps. I'm nervous, and we're just on radio, not in front of an enormous audience full of people. Director Chris Cumming, it is lovely to have you here. I should ask, how's it all going?
We are doing well. We're doing well, I think. I'm a little bit crazy right now, but we're doing well.
Where are we at? What stage are we at the moment then?
So we've just kind of finished the fit up and the build, and we're now about to start technical rehearsals. So in a few hours we do our first kind of rain on the cast, which is very exciting. Water sculptures who have done all of the water have installed it all, and we had a good test of kind of surprise ending sequence.
Surprise ending, which again we're not going to give too much away, and just to reiterate again, Ben's doing a marvellous job of keeping sort of side angle on here so we don't give the stage set away. How long have you actually been preparing for this then?
Well, we announced the show back in November last year, and then Rebecca, who's designed the show, we started in about February. And then it's kind of been an evolving thing. It's a massive, I think, you know, the joy of it is the audience should never know all of that kind of stuff, but it's a massive undertaking. And I was very naive. After doing Chitty, I was like, we can do anything. We've flown a car. No. Then Singing in the Rain happened. It's a huge show. It's a film. Mm-hmm. It's a film. It wasn't written for the theatre. It was written as a film. So
And interestingly, you say it was written as a film. I was reading something earlier about the fact that actually it was just a random collection of songs.
Yeah.
The lyricist had just had this bunch of songs and said to the screenwriters, make a film around it. So it wasn't even like a cohesive thing.
It's a really, really interesting story and this is what's been so exciting about the rehearsal process, is we've actually kind of taken it away from just being Gene Kelly and given it a whole new focus. So, basically the screenplay writers kept writing a story around this song called Singing in the Rain. And then they were left on set one day and they kind of were just watching the world of the MGM studios unfold. And they were like, oh, why don't we just kind of take lines from the set and make a whole show out of it? So it's very, when you think of it like that, you go, it was such a massive time in history. So it's been, it's a lovely story.
And of course, translating that from screenplay to something that we're going to see here on the Gaiety stage, the film is one. It's a classic. It's one that we know and love. How did you feel about putting on a show that was already so familiar to so many people?
It's always really exciting because because audiences come and they kind of know, like, you're kind of 30% they're there with you because they know, and you know, Danny Becker, who will speak to you later, who's playing Don and I, we've spoken a lot about Gene Kelly and what he created, because ultimately he is Don Lockwood. It was written for him, it was written around him, he co-choreographed it. So we've been really conscious of going, we want to pay homage to the film, but we're doing our version. So we hope that the iconic images are all in there, but also our own flavour on the character, which I think is a really important thing to do on a show.
And we'll be speaking to the cast over the course of the next hour, some of the leading roles here. How on earth do you find them? Because I've got to say, if you watch the film, you know, I've been watching again recently the film, they are extremely complicated, because when you think of how multi-talented these guys have to be, from not just the singing and the choreography and the comedy of it, but the acting as well.
Yeah, casting's one of the most important things, and you know, we always allow anyone to audition, but I always and I'm very open in auditions at saying, you bring what you think the character is, and then we'll work with what you feel, and we'll go from there. You know, the great thing about Taylorian is that we have an image, and we have a look, and we have a work ethic, and anyone's allowed to kind of be part of that. Sorry, there's a set being built still, but I'm very, very conscious that people are able to meet that standard. Now, I'm a big pusher of people, and I'll push and push and push and push and push. And so with these characters, I kind of knew what I wanted to achieve with them. And then you kind of go, well, if we can't cast that. So when I left after the auditions here, I spoke to Josh. I'll come in closer. I spoke to Josh Barnett, who you'll speak to later, on the phone, and said, how about you? Laura Piggott, I kind of was like, knew what she did last year and knew her dance ability. So you kind of start working with people, and then Danny Becker, hilariously, he auditioned for me for a show in town, and I just was looking back through my notes of the audition and I remembered his name, and I kind of remembered him and messaged him on Twitter. And then I landed from the Isle of Man back in Gatwick, and then we spoke about half an hour later on the phone, and here we are now, and he's over on the island.
And when you say Don Lockwood.
Yes, indeed. And when you say he auditioned for you for something in town, you're not talking about Douglas Town, are you?
Not Douglas Town, back in London Town. I know, I always call it town. Back in London Town. So I did a show called Yank a few years ago, and Danny auditioned for it. But when you audition people, you get to know people. And so I was able to kind of go, okay, I can put you there, and you kind of come up with, you meet people. It's all about networking, isn't it, in a way, this industry? But no, they're wonderful, and our Isle of Man cast have worked, because it's not, and people have, you know, not danced before, and we've made them look like they're in 42nd Street, effectively.